Y'all, we're making marshmallows. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling something you guys have asked a lot about, low carb marshmallows. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb marshmallows, sugar-free marshmallows, keto marshmallows, whatever you want to call it. You guys have been asking a lot about it in the comments below in some of my last videos. I guess it's that time of year, time for hot cocoa and s'mores and all the things that marshmallows are really good at. And low carb marshmallows, sugar-free marshmallows are hard to find. And when you do, they're generally made with maltitol or some other ingredients that can generally spike your blood sugar. So today we're going to try two different recipes to see if we can come up with a version that is shelf stable, lasts on the counter, and mimics the look and feel of a marshmallow, which, as we all know, is basically pretty much just sugar. So that's going to be a hard task, but I think we're up to it. Our first recipe comes to us from All Day I Dream About Food, Carolyn over there. She's fantastic at this kind of stuff. And this is her recipe for sugar-free marshmallows. I'm going to leave a link here on the screen right here, and it's going to be in the video description below. Our second recipe is called Legit Keto Marshmallows, and this is by BakeItKeto.com. Now, one of these uses allulose as a sweetener, and one of them uses a couple of different sweeteners, and you're going to find out why. Now, there are some recipes that call for keeping these in the refrigerator. They have to be refrigerated. They can't just stay out on the counter. And I just eliminated those because I think for the use of a marshmallow, whether you're toasting it or putting it in hot cocoa, if it has to live in the fridge, you're immediately cooling down whatever you're going to be putting it on, and just toast. These things toast really fast, so you're going to have a cold inside and possibly a toasted / burnt outside. So we're eliminating any that have to live in the fridge. So let's get started on all of these now. But before we begin, I need to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network, and the most important part of that term is the word private. Surfshark keeps your anonymity online by masking all of your online activity. This is great for protecting your files and important information like work and banking logins, particularly if you're using common Wi-Fi spaces in the public like airports, libraries, hospitals, stores, and restaurants. These places can be attractive targets for those looking for an easy door into your personal information. In a way, using a VPN like Surfshark keeps you virtually invisible to anybody looking into what you're doing and where you're doing it from. But I love Surfshark for more than just security. With a few taps, you can change your IP address to almost anywhere in the world as if you were really there. If you're a fan of television or online content that's not available in your area, Surfshark can virtually place you there, allowing you access to large catalogs of content from services like Netflix and others to watch your favorite shows, movies, and sports that might not be available to you. I found some fantastic cooking shows that are foreign to me that I would not have had access to without Surfshark. So if you guys would like to experience the security, freedom, and peace of mind offered by a VPN, Surfshark has got a great deal for my viewers today. They have an exclusive holiday VPN special. Just enter code Highfalutin to get up to 6 additional months for free by going to surfshark.deals/Highfalutin. I'll leave the link in the video description, here on the screen, and in the first pinned comment below. And as I always say, sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this. And sponsorships like Surfshark keep channels like mine on the air, and for that, I am truly appreciative. So guys, if you want to support me, go support them. Visit Surfshark today using the link in the video description below. All right, let's get back to these marshmallows. Come on. All right, guys, so let's get started on this first recipe. Again, this is sugar-free marshmallows by the website alldayidreamaboutfood.com. And we're going to start by lining an 8x8 inch pan with parchment paper and lightly greasing that. I just use a little bit of avocado oil. This is important to get this done first before you start, because once this thing gets out of the mixer, whether you're using a stand mixer or a hand mixer, it's got to be pretty quick. You got to move pretty quickly, and you want that done and out of the way and ready to dump your stuff into. So I'm going to leave a link on the screen here and in the video description below and in the first pinned comment. I know if you're a regular here, you know this, but these aren't my recipes. I'm just here to test them. The people that did create the recipes, they deserve the traffic for all the hard work that they've done. So I'm going to ask you to visit their links down below. Invariably, after 7 years doing this, somebody always says, "Where are the links?" Well, they're here on the screen and they're in the video description below. All right, so we're going to start this off. Our pan is ready to go, and we're going to have a little bit of water. This is a cup of water, and we're going to put half of it into a mixing bowl for my stand mixer. If you're using a hand mixer, it's going to be 5 to 15 minutes worth of mixing, but it can be done, but you'll just use a regular bowl. And then the other half of the water is going into a small saucepan, and this is for our sugar sweetener alternatives. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on medium heat and let that start to heat up. Now in this, we're going to let our gelatin bloom. And this is powdered beef gelatin, and quite a bit of it actually. Again, if you want to know how much, visit the link in the comments below. Sprinkle this lightly over the top of the water, and then this just needs to sit for a while and bloom. This gelatin will start to absorb all that water and do its little job in there. So we're going to let this sit while we tend to our liquid ingredients. So we've got our half a cup of water in here, and to this we're going to add the dry ingredients, and that is powdered swerve sweetener. This is a powdered confectioner's erythritol based product. So erythritol, she's not using allulose, and she says that allulose makes it a little too goopy. If you've made marshmallows out of them, they disintegrate as soon as they hit anything liquid. We're going to find out because our second recipe does contain allulose. But for this, she calls for swerve sweetener. That goes in the pot. And to this also is bocha sweet or boca sweet. I'm going to show you here. I'll leave a link for this below. This is fantastic. It is a great sugar alternative. It is a little pricey. I think this was about $19 for this bag, American dollars. So, but it doesn't affect blood sugar. Really tastes like sugar. I believe it comes from the kombucha squash, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But so a little bit of that, and that goes into our water. I almost put it in the wrong bowl. That would be disastrous. We're going to bring this to a boil, and we've got to make sure that it gets to between 237 and 240 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're going to use a candy thermometer or an instant read thermometer, but you want to get it to that temperature. All right, so I'm going to let this come to a boil, and I'll probably speed this up. We also need to add in cream of tartar, a little tiny bit, about 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar. This is used to keep, egg whites while you're beating egg whites to help them get some lift. And I imagine that's what it's going to be doing here. She says you can omit it, but it works better with it. And a huge bottle of it is pennies, really, just a couple of bucks. And lastly, a small pinch of salt. I'm just going to give it a quick grind. You don't want much. Obviously, these aren't salty, but there you go. So I'm going to speed this up and let this come to a boil, and we'll meet you right back here. I'm going to move this burner because from here we're going to switch to the stand mixer, and then there's not a lot of hands-on work apparently to this. It's going to go quickly work-wise because the stand mixer is going to do all the work. See you in a bit. Okay, so our sugar came to 240 degrees. I'm just going to move it over here out of the way so I can quickly swap this out. So just pardon me one moment. Okay, so our gelatin, as you see, has bloomed. It's kind of thick. This is going in the stand mixer. I've got the whisk attachment on. We're going to turn this to low. And while this is going, we're going to slowly pour in down the side of the bowl our sweetener, which is hot, so be careful. So I'm going to do that now. We're just going to slowly add this. You don't want it to slosh back on you. This would be like a nightmare to get on you. Okay, so that's coming together well. Now we're going to add some vanilla extract. That's the flavor of, if marshmallows have a flavor, if it's not just sugar, the flavor is vanilla. So a teaspoon of vanilla extract goes in here now. And here is where the hard work comes in, I guess you could say, which is the watching and waiting. I'm going to turn this up to medium high, and then this is going to go for 5 to 15 minutes. That's a long time range. You want it to get thick, and what does she say? Her exact words are, until it's lukewarm, thickened, and white. This can take 5 to 15 minutes. And then from there, you're going to work pretty quickly. So I'm going to move my pan ready to go. I've got a spatula ready to go and an offset spatula. You may want to hit them with a little bit of oil so that they don't stick, but we're going to move pretty quickly. I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to speed this up and I'll show you how long it takes here on the screen. I'll meet you right back in a bit. Okay, I'm going to stop this here. It's lukewarm. I'm scared for it to get any cooler. So this is what we're working with here. It's not really at stiff peaks, but it's starting to cool down pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do, get out of the way, is moving quickly. It says put this into our pan and smooth out the top. And then this has to sit for 4 to 6 hours at room temperature until the top is no longer tacky or sticky, and that means that you're ready to dump them out and slice them. This makes 20 marshmallows. A serving is 2 marshmallows, so there's 10 servings in this. It's kind of thickening up, and I was worried that it wasn't going to be big enough, but I don't know that we could have gotten it any larger. As you can see, it is large and in charge. I'm gonna finish spreading this out, and this is gonna go sit on the counter and cool in the back and become sticky, and we're gonna get cleaned up for our second recipe. You want this kind of smooth because the marshmallows need to be smooth. I'm so excited about this. I'm tempted to lick that, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, so, ooh, it's so light and fluffy and jiggly. So I'm going to do this, clean up, and I'll meet you back here when we get started on our second recipe. All right, see you in just a bit. So let's get started on our second recipe while that one cools on the counter. This is Legit Keto Marshmallows by BakeItKeto.com. And this is my first opportunity to be able to make something from that site. I'll leave a link again here and in the video description. Now this is made with allulose, which some people claim you can't make, but she goes into great detail. I believe this person, I don't know if it's a he or she, is a pastry chef maybe, or a chef, and talks about how the ratio of liquid to gelatin to sweetener is different, and she was able to create an allulose-based marshmallow. So we're gonna do that now. I'm cutting her recipe in half, by the way. So if you're following along, I'm using half of everything. Hers makes 24 jumbo marshmallows. It was supposed to be in 2 8x8 pans or 1 9x13. So just to keep ratios the same, I just made half of the recipe so it'll fit in 1 8x8 pan, and we'll get 12 jumbo marshmallows, which should be roughly about the same as 2 of the marshmallows from the previous recipe, if any of that makes sense. So we're going to start by adding a little bit of water to our bowl. For me, it's going to be about 1/3 of a cup, and the rest of the water goes into our saucepan ready for our sweetener. Now we're going to take, this is gelatin, going to sprinkle this lightly over the top, and then she says to immediately stir this so that any gelatin that isn't covered in liquid gets its fair shake. So I'm just going to do that real quickly. I'm going to rinse this off too so it doesn't affect our sugar. Okay, and now for the sweetener. I'm going to put this on medium high again. Sorry, medium heat. And in goes, ta-da. This is again half, but this is all allulose. It's about 1.5 cups of allulose. The full recipe calls for 3 cups. Again, if you want the full recipe, you know where to go. Visit BakeItKeto.com. So she says not to stir it, but I'm going to have to, and that you can keep a pastry brush with some water on the side of the stove to brush down any crystallization. That's what we're trying to prevent, are sugar crystals, sweetener crystals. I say sugar. When I'm saying sugar, in this instance, I mean our sweetener. You're trying to keep that off of the sides of the pan because it will recrystallize if you don't be careful. So this also needs to get to 240 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the softball stage of candy making. It says let it cook undisturbed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just scrape down our sides real quick so that we don't have any allulose crystals there. And now let this come to a boil. Okay, our sweetener is at 240 degrees, moving quickly. I'm just going to get it off of the burner. I'm going to get the burner out of the way and swap it out for our stand mixer. Now, same dealio. We're going to pour this in. I'm going to put this mixer attachment on and put this on low and slowly pour this in, being super duper careful. To this, we're going to add in some vanilla. Again, remember, I'm only doing half of the recipe, and a little quick pinch of salt, super tiny pinch. Put this on low, get this mixed up, and then it's going to go on for high for 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes. And she says, whip on high for at least 10 minutes. You will know when it's done, when the marshmallow is a very thick, capital very, glossy, and cool to the touch, and holds firm peaks. So that we didn't have that firm peaks instruction in the first recipe, but we do in this one. So I'm going to just turn this up and let this get going. Okay, it's been about 11 minutes and I do believe we are ready to go here. We've got pretty good peak action here. So moving quickly again, we're going to just take this out, and I probably should use a square metal pan, but I don't have an extra 8x8, so we're using a glass baking dish for this. So moving quickly, she said, just as our other recipe, this goes right in. Use a rubber spatula and spread this out. Use an offset spatula to get the top smooth. It's going to start setting up real quick. Now, the magic to both of these recipes is they need to sit for, like I said, 4 to 6 hours. And then we're going to turn them out and slice them and make our individual marshmallows out of it. And we're also going to cover them, kind of sprinkle them with some of the powdered sweeteners that we've used to give them a softer touch. You know, if you look at commercially made marshmallows, they kind of have a soft coating on them of powdered sugar, and that's what we're going to do as well. Get it all into the edges, and unfortunately this pan has a pretty severely sloped edge, which we won't get an exact square, but it's a marshmallow. It don't matter what it looks like. Everybody be happy with it, I bet. It is so glossy. That sheen is beautiful. It's got a nice Charlie sheen on it. Again, oiling this little spatula can help get this smoother. And it's all I can do now, not to stick that in my mouth, but I ain't gonna do it. So, all right, this is gonna go over there beside our other recipe. And I'm just gonna sit here for 4 to 6 hours, probably come back in about 6 hours. They can stay overnight. And then we're gonna dump them out and slice them and do all of that jazz. So I will see you back here and we'll taste these in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, so we are back, and now it's time to see if we can actually get these things out of the pan. It's been about 9 hours since I put these in and let them rest. They've just been sitting on the counter. As you can see, I did have to put some straws in one of these because you can see my parchment paper on top lifted and created a little bit of texture while it was still kind of gooey. They're a little bit tacky, but not terrible. Our humidity is a little high today. So this is the first recipe. This is the sugar-free marshmallows by All Day I Dream About Food. And the second one here is the legit keto marshmallows by bakeitketo.com. So let's just quickly talk about nutritional information. They're both so similar and so small that they are just sort of an anomaly probably throughout your day if you count net carbs. The first recipe, sugar-free marshmallows by All Day I Dream About Food. If you get 10 servings, which would be 20 marshmallows, one serving is 2 marshmallows, which makes it 14 calories, 0.1 grams of carbs, and 1.5 grams of protein, and there's no fat. So the protein's coming from the gelatin, and then obviously the erythritol and bocha sweet and other things are subtracted because of those are the net carbs. So literally 14 calories. The second one here, Legit Keto Marshmallows by Bake It Keto. Again, I made a half recipe, but this would make 12 jumbo marshmallows. They're going to be double the size of this. If you do that, one marshmallow is 4 calories, 0.03 grams of carbs, and 0.7 grams of protein, and again, no fat. So, I mean, again, they're kind of an anomaly. This is a treat that as long as you're okay with counting net carbs, you should be fine. All right, so what I need to do, I'm just going to put this one out of the way. Let's try to cut these, and this is what I'm concerned about. I've got a knife, I've got a small paper towel with a little bit of avocado oil I've put on there. You don't want it super oily, but this can help you get through that apparently. So what I'm going to do, I'm kind of nervous about this. First of all, I'm going to use a sieve, and I'm going to put in a little powdered erythritol. This is that confectioner's swerve, and gently dust over the top of this. It sort of creates, it's like powder on a latex glove, right? It lets it slip and slide without becoming sticky and tacky. So that's what I'm going to do with this, and hopefully when we dump it over, it'll be easy to get off that paper. You don't want too much because it doesn't need to live in a cloud of powdered sugar, but there we have it. I'm also going to come in here just gently. You shouldn't really have to do this, but I didn't put a sling on both sides. I just put it in the middle there, and I'm probably going to regret that here in a minute, but I also don't want to mess up my pan. So we should be able to turn this out. How do I do this? Can I lift it out? Yeah, I can lift it out. So that's what I'm going to do. Bloop. Ooh. Okay, so it did come out pretty clean. My pan's fairly clean. I'm not going to pat myself on the back just yet. And then I'm going to come over here with I thought it would be easiest to just line a baking sheet with some parchment paper to give myself a place to dust these with some more sugar to keep them separate. Because once this happens, for both recipes, ideally, we're going to cut these, put a little bit of sugar on them, and then let them sit out at room temperature in the atmosphere overnight to dry in the air to the touch before we package them in a closed container, and they can live for a few weeks on the countertop, a few months in the fridge or the freezer. So that's what we're kind of going for. So from here, I want this to look at that. It's kind of fun to touch. Wonga, wonga, wonga. It's like one of those Japanese cheesecakes or oh no, let's see. Help me, help me. Dun, 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 dun. Now our other pan isn't quite as square with as many right angles as that, so it may not be as easy as that was. Now, so what happens if I just take one of these? That's a big old marshmallow. It's so light and fluffy. Look at that. Okay. And look, it's pretty nice. I want a little, what happens if I put powder? I'm sort of experimenting with you guys because I don't know about this either. That to me is probably 2. I'm making a mess, Wesley. It's probably, you could truthfully get 4. Look at that. Marshmallows out of that. I'm determined to saw it, and it said not to. Those are cute. Okay, look at those. Those look really great. Now, obviously, these are gigantic. I mean, I would be cutting these smaller, especially if you're using them in cocoa, but I'm sort of impressed with how big they are. So I'm just going to leave them like that, and we'll taste them in a minute. I'm going to do the same thing with the second recipe. I'll slow down a little bit of it so you can see some of the things as we're cutting them. So I'll be right back. Let me get the second one. Okay, so there's powdered sweetener on me and every square inch of this kitchen. But we are finally done. So this first tray that are really have sharp edges and held their shape is the first recipe, the All Day I Dream About Food, sugar-free. The second one is this is the allulose based from Bake It Keto, legit keto marshmallows. Just looking at them, first of all, this texture was much easier to work with, much easier to cut. They are larger, but they just held up better. It feels like a marshmallow. This texture feels like meringue, almost like whipped egg whites in a meringue. It's just very sticky. Now both of they're sort of like self-healing. Like they all, after you cut it, if you don't separate them immediately, they just sort of kind of glom back together. So I know that some time in the air will allow them to develop a little probably skin around all those cut areas, particularly with the powdered sugar, so that they're a little more firm and separated. But right now, if I were to put those in a container, it would just be a blob, right? So the question is, what do they taste like? So I'm going to grab one of these. This is the first one, and it's the most marshmallow-like. Now, if you're looking at this, see, my hands are fairly clean. It feels like a marshmallow, okay? That was good. Happened fast. Kind of goes away quickly in the mouth. Slight cooling aftertaste, but not like a regular fully erythritol based. The Bocha Sweet is good in that. I don't think you'd have anybody detect that they think that's just homemade marshmallows. They'd be like, "What? Have you made homemade marshmallows?" Now, granted, that's got the Bocha Sweet in it, so that bag's about $18. That's about $27 for each one of them little marshmallows. No, I'm kidding, but take that into account. And all of these alternative sweeteners, as we know, are expensive, comparatively speaking. Our second one, this is the Bake It Keto. How do they feel? So let's take one of these. It's been cut for a while and it's still super, see, my fingers are picking it up. It's been dusted in more allulose, and that's going to help some, but it's a lot. So what does it taste like? All right. It's good. It tastes like meringue. It tastes like eggy. It does. Even though that's allulose, I like the sweetening profile in the first recipe a little bit better. So just initially, the first recipe, All Day I Dream About Food, knocks it out of the park. I think she's correct when she's talking about allulose having some, good gracious, allulose having some trouble keeping up itself. We'll know more tomorrow, but I want to try something. So hold on one second. I'm gonna get some water. Real quickly, this is just hot water in a glass. We could use cocoa, but I want to see what's happening. One of the biggest reasons you'll be making this is to put in cocoa. So how do they hold up in a warm liquid? I'm going to take one of each. This is recipe 1, recipe 2. Just drop them in the hot water. Can't even let go of that one. And let's see how they hold up, if at all. And this is just warm tap water. They're getting smaller, and you can see the water's getting cloudy. So they're performing pretty much like our marshmallow should. Y'all, I'm kind of impressed. I'd make that first batch in a heartbeat. And I got more Bocha Sweet too. So there you have it, folks. Low carb, keto, sugar-free marshmallows. Can it be done? Yeah, it can absolutely be done. Thank you so much for joining me. As I say every time, these videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you guys have come along for the journey. I'm going to ask you if you would please to like this video, hit the thumbs up down below, and if you're not a subscriber, be sure you hit the subscribe button down below. It lets you know as soon as I just release a new video. Make sure the bell is ticked, and liking this is free to you, but it lets the YouTube algorithm know this is a video that contains good information that they may want to share with other people. So that's a great way that you can help. I also want to thank my sponsor for this video, again, Surfshark. Sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this, so thank you so much for that. And lastly, I want to thank my rock stars, my Patreon members. Without them, none of this would be possible. You'll see their names start to scroll on the screen here. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you, who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube, you can give $1 or $2 a month just to keep the train on the tracks. So without them, again, none of this would be possible. All right, guys, I love you very much. I'll see you very soon for another low carb video. And remember, today is a great day to have a great day.